have this answer. So I'm going to make this channel called the Venus Project Challenge, and I'm going to write all these scripts and these essays, and I'm going to make videos, and somebody's going to bite. Somebody's with the answer is going to respond and be like, oh, this is why, because you didn't know this. And, you know, that was, 3 years ago. And so far, all the responses are the same straw men. Most people who try to object to it don't really understand what it is, unfortunately. So
yeah, I notice every now and then when I bring up my YouTube homepage, more and more nowadays I see, you know, notifications that that you've responded to someone on one of your videos, and, you know, bring up all these things, and, you know, and multiple commented answers as well, because it's so multifaceted.
right.
And that's one thing that, you know, I really respect about the work that you do and the work that other people do, that we do need to engage our critics, you know, and that's one thing that I really appreciate about, you know, the fact that they hammer home the message, but they also crowbar in some humor as well, because I think it was I can't remember what the name of the film is. It's a Mark Wahlberg film where you use
The Happening.
Oh yeah, that's the one. Yeah, it's just the little edits in it, you know. And even if it's just audio, because a lot of videos that I've found that TZM do are just as easy to absorb them by just listening to them. So I sort of I download them from YouTube, convert them into MP3, and put them on my MP3 player and listen to them that way. And you know, and I found that they're just as funny in audio as well as video, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then, I mean, that's the thing, is you definitely have to have fun with it. I think it definitely kills two birds with one stone, at least for me as an activist. For one, it's the only way to stay sane, really, if you can have fun with it and kind of make fun of yourself, make fun of the other person, just kind of keep it lighthearted as possible. Not all the time, but, you know, whenever possible, to engage listeners and just kind of stay entertained yourself, so you don't get bored out of your mind or too frustrated or too upset. I think it's just a good way to have fun with activism and with what you're doing. And then, you know, also on top of that, people are going to be more willing to listen and just kind of follow, pay attention, maybe subscribe, whatever, if they feel like, oh, this is kind of cool. This is a normal person with a sense of humor and a rational head on their shoulders. It's not some weird, obsessed, you know, fanatic person who's just completely serious all the time. I think a lot of people, some people might be drawn to that, but I think a lot of people, especially in the YouTube community, that's probably going to turn people off. So, you know, I think it kind of satisfies both avenues there if you want to be humorous when you can.
So apart from the Venus Project Challenge videos, because I know you've done like a short series of those, what other? Because I've noticed you've done quite a few response videos as well. I mean, what started you off with making response videos?
The first response video I actually did was, I guess if I'm going back far enough, I did a blog. I wrote a blog explaining why I did my first video response, because what had actually happened was the person who was objecting to the Venus Project had been told by somebody else, you know, who was advocating the movement, you need to do more research, and just kind of over and over with really no answers, no explanations for their objections, just telling them flat out that they need to do more research. And just after talking with the person and watching their video, which is actually kind of hostile, really, I just decided to respond to that person and just kind of calmly address their objections, just to show that this can be done. We can address people's objections calmly and rationally. And sometimes they might have a legitimate question, and sometimes it's not enough to just say, do research, you don't know what you're talking about. Because they might have a real question, you know, and if you just kind of, and that's what my Z-Day talk was about, and if you just kind of, you know, brush it off, that can discourage people or make them feel like there isn't really any validity to what you're advocating or what you're talking about. So it's hard, you know, there's a thin line there, and you have to kind of use your own judgment and know when to spend that time. But that was my first one. It actually wasn't even really very good. It was just kind of a brief, you know, just talking to the guy, basically. I went through his video and responded to the many points. It wasn't until after that where I started to see videos from people that I actually felt like really needed responses, because it wasn't just a personal opinion of, oh, this is my view on this. This is my take. It was really a hardcore, I'm trying to find a better word than attack, but I can't think of one. It was a hardcore opposition to the resource-based economic model. The first one was from Storm Cloud's Gathering, I think, who's actually surprisingly really good friends with Neil Kiernan now, and they're apparently doing shows together all the time.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Yeah, he actually is. Justin actually watches a lot of his videos and stuff and says he has really cool things to say, and I've seen some of his stuff on YouTube too. But, you know, back then at the time, it was just kind of, I think he had a lot of misunderstandings. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to respond to these because I think it got to a point where I realized not only are there probably a lot of people that agree with these objections, but there might be people who don't even really know yet until they see this video. And it could be a problem to just not say anything. And, you know, here I am doing this challenge series, which is great, but that's what the challenge is, right? Is to get people to object to it. So if I don't respond to those, then what good are my challenge videos, you know?
Yeah, that's true. And I found one of the hardest things is to be able to tell exactly where the line is with the other person, because it's hard to tell whether someone is actually, you know, really genuinely wanting to ask questions, but they've got a bit of a, well, dare I say, a hardened heart, as it were, against the sort of thing. And, you know, they're a very ardently questioning person, and they want good answers, and they're outspoken and that sort of thing. It's hard to to sense where the line is between that and the person who's just a difficult troll. You know, or maybe they're a bit of both. Some people, you know,
that's true.
It's hard, very, very hard to tell.
It takes time. It definitely takes time. I feel like I've gotten better at being able to make that distinction, after talking about this stuff for so long and participating in comment discussions and stuff for so long. You start to just, I guess, because of habit and having the privilege of engaging in conversations with so many people. And I call it a privilege because there's so many people out there who I just, you know, even if they don't agree with the project, I've just enjoyed the experience of being able to talk to people and listen to their questions and objections. I've learned from people. There's been people that don't agree with it who have said, you need to go look at this, or this is why I don't agree. And then even though maybe it didn't convince me why the research-based economy wouldn't work, it still gave me a better insight as to where people are coming from when they have that objection. So that's why it's so important, I think, when people are having these conversations for both sides need to really listen. And I know I'm not saying I'm perfect. I need to work on it too, because sometimes I get really defensive and I just kind of like go at the person, you know, but I definitely avoid ad hominem at all costs. But a lot of times I think you can tell the difference when the person is listening to what you're saying and responding to exactly that, and not in a vindictive way. I recently ended a debate with somebody on YouTube because I just told them, I said, your responses to my comments aren't actually responses to the questions that I'm asking you or the points that I'm making. You're just picking certain words or things I'm saying and attacking those. Yeah. Does that make sense? Like I would make a point about something, and then he would say, oh, well, that doesn't sound very scientific. Aren't you supposed to be about science? That sounds more like God. And I'm like, okay, that has nothing to do with what I said, though. You're completely misconstruing everything. You're making a whole nother point just to sort of poke at me and make me sound religious. That has nothing to do with what I actually said. So, you know, I dealt with it for however many comments, but then once it started to become a habit, I was like, this is a waste of my time, because there's people here who have real questions that I could be talking to. But, you know, that's just one example. But over time, when you've been just kind of engaging in conversations with people, you've met really patient and nice people, you've met kind of the more short-tempered people, you can start to tell, I guess, when their intentions are genuine. But it is hard on the internet because you don't have, you know, facial expressions and intonation and all of that.
Absolutely.
So, and a lot of people can pull a bait and switch on you too, which you have to be careful with. I run into that a lot. Justin says it's because I'm a girl. A lot of people think that they can come on there and say, this girl doesn't know what she's talking about. You know, she doesn't know anything about economics. And so they just come out the gate swinging. You know, their first comment is, listen, little girl, kind of just trying to put me in my place. And he's like, and then when you respond with a comment and it has like real words in it and know what you're talking about, then they're all like, oh, why are you attacking me? And I'm like, I'm not attacking you. I'm just addressing what you said, but you expected me to go cry in the corner and now you're all surprised kind of thing. So,
I mean, I can understand that sort of thing because if you think about the kinds of personalities that actually come out and be outspoken about these kinds of things, generally we find that women are either in general, for any female listeners, I'm making this clear that I'm saying in general, we find that women tend to either more be on the slant of animal rights activism or equal rights and that sort of thing. Not so much, activism which centers around really understanding economics or this kind of thing. And it is disconcerting to some people to find, as you found, that there's a woman trying to tell me about economics. I'm a man. This is a guy's area. We've got this down. Get back in your kitchen, little girl. Whatever.
I've had comments like that.
Really?
Those words, yes, verbatim. Those are the ones that I'm talking about, is they'll write something like that, and then I won't be baited by that. I'll just, I'll respond to, maybe if there's any context, respond to just that. Oh, well, why do you say that, the economic calculation problem is an issue in a state of abundance or something like that? And then obviously the response is not even relevant to what I said, but it's just kind of, I think, like you said, I think they maybe just, there's an ego thing involved there too in a lot of cases. So.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons why I was, why I'm, glad that people like yourselves of the female gender do exist in the movement and are outspoken, because, I've found that, no offense to any of the other TZM speakers, but we're predominantly guys. Not to try and, pull the reverse sexism card, but, in a sense, we do need more female speakers. It's something that, we find that, this was one of the criticisms that was leveled at Peter Joseph when he did, Moving Forward. People asked him, why aren't there more women in your movie? And he was just like, well, it's not that I chose the people that I interviewed because of their gender or not. It's because that's where the data is.
Mm-hmm.
So, and for the reasons that we've just discussed, it's understandable why, a lot of women are discouraged away from understanding economics or anything like that. Cause it's, with everything, like with the media and politicians, it's predominantly men that are talking about these kind of things, and it's not a sort of thing that women are encouraged to understand. So I think that's why we do need more outspoken female speakers to show that it isn't just a guy's thing.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose in a sense it's activism on the whole. It's something that stereotypically could appeal to guys more than it does to women, but I don't know. What do you think?
I think it definitely has a lot to do with just habits too. I know, and I'm kind of just going off of either stuff I've understood from previous research that I've done. I'm not really sure what the current statistics are, but I believe that as far as this stuff goes, that guys are spending a lot more time on YouTube and things like that. I know obviously women probably do more of their reading online articles or magazines or even shopping and stuff, but I don't know that they spend as much time surfing YouTube videos and things unless they're watching stuff that they're particularly interested in. And since a lot of these topics are being discussed online, especially the whole just social media movement that's happening, and pretty much anything that happens on the news that then transfers over to the internet where everybody's talking about it. Maybe if they just experience it on TV, then kind of once that's over, then they're